Hey everyone, how's it going? My name is Jay and welcome to the channel and welcome to October Lake in Planet Zoo, a project where we're building this really large wildlife park situated in the Canadian Highlands. In today's episode we continue our delve into the North America animal pack with the inclusion of some moose. If you like the sound of that and if you do like today's episode, please do consider leaving a like on the video. Please do also comment down below and tell me what you think, and do subscribe for more Planet Zoo content. With that out of the way, let's talk about today's episode, which is featuring an animal I've wanted in the game for the longest time, the moose. Moose are just such cool animals. I've always considered them a staple in zoo games, though maybe not necessarily zoos in real life. I haven't actually seen very many, if any, moose in real life at all. Like, I don't think I've ever seen them in a zoo. But I've always seen them in zoo games, like Zoo Tycoon, and I do love them in those games. They're always like one of my go-to like starter animals, and it's so nice to have them in Planet Zoo. I think they'd probably be more common in North American zoos because of course they are a North American animal, but yeah, I really can't think of many examples where I've seen them in zoos that I've been to, and I've been to quite a lot of zoos, though most of them being in Asia, so you know there's a good chance I just haven't been to the right ones. Even in the European zoos I've been to, I don't think I've seen a moose before. So yeah, maybe I just need to go to some different zoos once in a while and see if we can track down any mooses. Oh, moose. I'm gonna really flip-flop between the plural of the word moose today because for my whole life, I've struggled not to say meese. Because, you know, goose, geese, moose should be, in my head, meese. But it's, of course, just moose, I think. Or mooses. Though I think it's moose. I believe someone did tell me in the comments, I think it was Leviathan, one of the mods on the Discord. I think he mentioned that it was moose, just moose for plural, so I'm gonna stick with that. But yeah, just my brain just refuses to not say meese, which is whatever. But you know, they're just really cool animals and I really like them. They are the largest species of deer and they are massive. When I say massive, I mean massive. Like, you've probably seen some like videos that have gone viral of like people driving up next to them and stuff, and just the size comparison where they're like double the height of people's cars and stuff like that, which is just crazy how big they are. Really, really titanic animals that I think people don't often think of deer as being particularly large animals, but moose, of course, really defy that kind of stereotype. They're really interesting building a habitat for them as well. They need a relatively large space, and of course, like I've said many times, we're running out of space in this park. But I found this really nice area here next to the lake, next to where the reindeer habitat is as well, so they are sharing kind of a region of the park with another antlered animal, which is nice. So I think they've got a nice little area here which I built up for them. Very rocky, quite foresty towards the end, with a little bit of water area for them as well, because moose are excellent swimmers and they do love swimming. I made this little curved kind of like barrier between them and the lake, because if they got into the lake they could just swim away. So I think that ended up working pretty nicely, and it looks quite good too. Let's talk a little bit about moose themselves while building the habitat, because the more I learn about them, the more I'm just like, wow, these are bizarre animals. So of course, even though they're in the North American pack, they are actually distributed quite widely across the world. So you can actually see their map and it goes right across the world, right around the top, because of course when you think about the Arctic Circle, it is a circle. Animals up there have like clear lines of contact between other continents and they'll be able to distribute themselves like that. So moose definitely are spread out quite far, though they are quite iconically North American. They are of course found right up at the top of North America, though they have been seen in places like Russia and things like that as well. And they of course have those massive antlers. That's one of the more iconic parts of them. Of course it's mainly in the males. The females very rarely occasionally grow antlers as well, which is really interesting, but males have those massive like curved antlers, and while those are growing they're actually covered in a furry substance known as velvet, and I think I've talked about that a little bit when I talked about the reindeer. But velvet is really interesting. It's like fluffy and velvety essentially, and it's basically a network of blood vessels which helps the antlers grow, and then once it's fully grown they can just remove their velvet by scraping their antlers against stuff and it kind of falls off, Though when they do that, it's kind of terrifying because it gets all kind of like red and bloody, so it'll just look like there's a bunch of moose walking around with bloody antlers, which is terrifying. And then after that, they might even eat that velvet because it's just extra nutrients. They also have these really interesting distinctive noses, the proboscis, which is quite distinctive among the deer species. It's really quite bulbous, and they have nostrils that can actually be sealed when they want to, because they do eat aquatic vegetation too. And they think it's probably evolved specifically because they do browse on aquatic vegetation quite a lot. And speaking of which, they don't just do that by like wading into a lake and browsing. Moose have been seen swimming huge distances and even diving to get like, aquatic vegetation, which is really quite incredible. They're really good swimmers, and because of that, one of their natural predators is actually the killer whale, the orca, and another one is the Greenland shark. So they actually have marine predators that feed on moose, which is just really bonkers to think about. As far as terrestrial predators go, of course the usual suspects are there: Siberian tigers, wolves, black bears, brown bears, most bears, I guess. I don't think polar bears cross their range very often, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're on the list as well. But a fully grown moose, a fully grown adult male moose, a bull, has little to worry about from anything. It's so big and so powerful that really it does not have to worry about predation really at all, because they're just strong enough and robust enough to withstand an attack. And honestly, any animal that would try and attack a moose when it's full grown would not have an easy time of it. These guys are, as you can tell, just really, really, sturdy animals. Like, imagine trying to leap up like 13 feet or however tall these guys can get, and they get tall. So, not easy target by any means, especially when bulls can weigh like upwards of like 2/3 of a ton. So really powerful animals. In fact, I think the largest one weighed just about a ton, which is really crazy. In fact, among all terrestrial animals, the moose is only ever really beaten in terms of size in North America and Europe by bison species, which of course are really chunky animals as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about moose. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit about them. They consistently amaze me every time I see a video, like I mentioned, one of those viral videos of just comparisons of their size. I'm just like, wow, okay, yeah, big animals. And they're just really interesting, I think. And of course, they got that funny little nose, which I think is really cute. Reminds me a bit of like Saiga antelope. They've got that kind of like proboscis in a much more exaggerated sense. Anyway, let's talk a bit about the habitat. It's quite a big habitat, very long and narrow. It's about double the space they need, which is really nice. I feel quite happy that I managed to give them that space, because they do require quite a decent amount of it. I also made a little bit of a watering area here, which is, I think, turned out quite nice. It's meant to be like an artificial type one with some pebbles at the bottom, which I'm using that screen trick which I've done before in the park. One thing I've noticed is I've not been using the faux rocks very often nowadays, and I'm wondering why that is, because I do love the faux rocks. I think it's just the effort it takes to recolor them, so I've just kind of like not used them as often. But I'll probably go back onto them when we start doing some more habitats, and they're just fantastic rocks too, so I'll happily use them at any point. But also I do like the slightly more natural textures that these natural rocks afford. I think it looks really good, so very happy with that. Couple of viewing areas, of course, just adjacent from the previous habitat, the reindeer habitats viewing area on the other side. Of course, these are much more sheltered with higher fences, because moose can be quite aggressive. You do not want guests to get close enough that they could get hurt. So, of course, just a little bit of extra barrier height there won't do anyone any. Won't hurt. It really just wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of extra protection there. One thing I forgot to do is add in a shelter for the moose, and I've been doing that a lot. I just keep forgetting to add in shelter for the animals, so I'll have to do that off screen at some point. Let me know in the comments, what animal would you like to see in the next episode? We of course still have 6 North American animals. I'm thinking potentially the cougar if we can find a space for it. Otherwise, the prairie dogs would be a great find, I think, to put into a small habitat, potentially with some really interesting kind of like glass viewing areas into the like burrows and stuff. I think that would be cool. But I'm open to suggestions, so leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Just in general, some general life updates for you guys if you're interested at all. My internet situation has been rectified. If you have noticed the past 3 weeks maybe, my internet has been really awful, so I've been struggling to upload things, but it's all sorted now, so upload should be a-okay. I'll be getting a pet relatively soon, which I'm very excited about. I've been wanting a ball python for the longest time, and I might be getting one soon, so I'll probably do a little thing on the channel once I get one, which will, hopefully be before the end of the year. I'll be just so tremendously happy. I've always wanted an animal in my life, and ever since I can't even remember, ever since I've been living on my own, essentially, it's been like me constantly wanting a pet reptile or just a pet of any sort, and now I have the chance to actually have one, so I'm going to be really looking forward to that, because I don't know, I always want an animal in my life, and a ball python has been one of my most my longest, I think, want. Ever since I was a kid, I wanted a pet snake, and it's almost becoming a reality, and I'm super stoked about it. So I will definitely introduce it on the channel once I do get one. So yeah, that's another thing that's just happening in my life at the moment. Anyways, we're coming up to the end of the episode. I do hope you've enjoyed the episode and hearing a couple random life updates as well, and learning about moose, which are fantastic animals. I got some cinematics for you of the moose exploring this habitat. Again, nothing too fancy today, it's just a simple habitat, but one I think looks quite nice and fits the moose quite well. Do like the video if you did like it. As always, thank you so much for all your support, it means the world. I love reading all your comments. And as always, I will see you in the next episode. Bye!